historically referred to as angels, people that represent or like ambassadors of God.
Okay.
So in the sense that when the Prophet Muhammad conquered Mecca,
Yeah.
he came with 10,000 followers.
Right.
So
Saints
the
can be
10,000 angels.
okay. 10,000
be-
can. Okay, that's
be
fair. Okay, I'll
saints
accept.
or
I'll
something
accept
like
that.
this.
Now, and I agree with that because the Bible also says that. However,
Yeah,
there's a
which
big
verse
problem.
is that? Because I was thinking maybe Luke 24 when Jesus spoke about there should be like the angels, but do you know any other verse?
Who the people of earth shall be like angels. Oh
Yeah.
no, yes, of course, because this time, even in Daniel 8, for example, he mentions
okay.
the host, and when you look up host, comparing scripture, you'll see that host refers to angels and it refers to men. So that's not a
okay.
problem. But my
Interesting.
problem is this: the four kingdoms, which are Babylon, Medo Persia, Greece, and Rome. When you look at the ruling of those kingdoms, they come to an end in the year 538. 538 is when, or 476 is when the Roman Empire is crumbling, and then the Roman Catholic Church takes precedence or comes to power around the year 538. And then for 1,260 years, the Roman Catholic Church rules as the pagan Roman Empire ruled. So you have pagan Rome, papal Rome. After that, it ends in 1798. What I'm doing is I'm giving you the timeline of Daniel 7. After 1798, we must then expect to see Muhammad, because that's when that prophecy goes on. That's when that courtroom scene.
Islam conquered these particular lands in the 7th and 8th century,
Babylon,
which is Iraq.
Medo Persia.
Which is Iran.
Okay, I'm not aware of that.
So those are predominantly Muslim countries, or
Okay.
predominantly majority Muslim countries. Even if you look at the letters of the seven churches that are mentioned in Revelations,
Right.
those are predominantly Muslim today. So they all believe Jesus is the Messiah as he should be. And they believe that Jesus was sent by God, he's a messenger of God.
Yeah.
And they believe that because of the Prophet Muhammad, like he called them to the God of Abraham.
Right.
Because they didn't believe necessarily in the God of Abraham prior,
Yeah.
but they now do as a result.
Okay.
Because if you think about Christian, so I don't mean to talk too much.
No, go on. Because I've spoken too much as well.
No, it's fine. I was just going to say, before Islam, Arabia, it was stooped in sin, like in drunkenness, in like adultery, fornication, in gambling, and also murder.
Yeah.
Whereas the Christians at the time in the world, they were believers in monotheism. So like they believed in one God, or at least the Jewish followers of Jesus.
Yes.
So it would make more sense for God to reveal his book to the Prophet Muhammad in the 7th century Arabia, where he would guide them to the God of Abraham.
I have no problem with that.
It wouldn't make sense for the devil to go to the Arabs and take them to sin if they're already in sin.
Okay. Fair
It would
play.
make more sense if the Jews were on the truth, or the followers of Jesus were on the truth, and the devil would go to them and try to misguide them.
Okay.
Maybe through the works of Paul, or maybe someone else. I don't know.
Okay, so that's where I think we're going to have differences of opinion, of course. I believe in the Bible as the revealed will of God. And the reason why I can't accept in the 7th century that, a new book was given is simply because that's why I asked you earlier on, do you believe in the Synoptic Gospels and do you accept the Synoptic Gospels? Because if you do, there's going to be contradictions to what you believe as a Muslim.
Yeah, I accept that. I accept that to an extent. There has been like a development in that the gospel writers, even the synoptics, they sometimes modify some of the words of Jesus and the episodes surrounding him, so that Jesus becomes more Christian and less Islamic or less Muslim.
Right.
And you can see this, like for example, in the Gospel of Mark.
Yeah.
In Mark chapter 3, Jesus says, "Whoever does the will of God is my brother." But in Matthew chapter 12, the same saying is reported, but there Jesus says, "Whoever does the will of my Father in heaven is my brother." So there in Matthew, God is replaced with my Father in heaven, which is a more Christian saying.
Okay, but Matthew chapter 7, Jesus says, "Many shall come to me in that day, saying, Lord, Lord." So there's Now, what day is he talking about? Obviously, a day when people are going to enter into heaven.
Second coming.
Second
or
coming.
return,
So it's saying, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name and do many wonderful things in your name? And he's going to say, I profess, I never knew you.
Yeah.
And then he says, but he that do, and who is it that will enter? It's those who do the will of my Father.
Exactly.
So the issue is, my Father is mentioned in Matthew as well.
And that's my point. The sayings of Jesus were passed down and they were repeated by word of mouth, but over time they were Christianized.
Okay.
So in Matthew it's Christianized,
Okay.
but in Mark it's more Islamic. It's whoever does the will of God. But in Matthew it's become more Christian by calling God my Father in heaven.
So what do you think about Jesus saying, in that day, second coming, many will come to me?
Yeah, or not everyone who calls me Lord
Will enter.
but he who does the will of my Father.
Oh,
so
okay.
Maybe Jesus originally says he who does the will of God.
Yeah.
But over time, it got Christianized and changed to my Father instead of my God. Because the Gospels, they're not tape recordings of what Jesus said. They're not like a video cam.
Of course.
But they're like roughly reporting what they remember Jesus said and did.
Yeah.
And so the memories got fudged over time.
So let me ask you a question. Do you call Jesus Lord?
We call him Sayyid.
Which is what?
Which means master.
Master.
And like in a rough, loose translation, Lord with a small L. So just like Sarah called Abraham my Lord.
Okay.
So with a small L. So
Yeah.
in that sense, Isa,
interesting.
Sayyidina Isa.
It's interesting in the New International, which you told me to read. It's
Yeah.
got the capital LL, Lord. Anyway.
Yeah.
So,
But there's no capitals or small letters in the Greek.
okay, that's fine. That's fine.
It's like an interpret, like in the English has like a interpretive bias.
Okay.
And NIV is like a Trinitarian. It's done by evangelical Christians.
Okay. So then why are you asking me to go to the New International?
It's because it's based upon early manuscripts compared to
Okay,
King
fair.
James. Like in the British Library,
Yeah.
the Codex Sinaiticus.
Right.
So it's based upon those types of manuscripts,
Okay.
whereas King James isn't based upon the British Library.
Okay, fair play.
As far as I know. So,
Okay, so fair play. So I believe in Mark 14, which we looked at earlier, I believe that Son of Man is referring to Christ. And I believe in the second coming of Jesus. I believe that coming is near. I believe we're in the last days of Earth's history. And I believe soon the world is going to be divided into two groups. Not physically divided. I mean, every man, woman, and child right now are making decisions for heaven or for hell. Heaven for the fire or for paradise. And so my issue, why I'm coming here to Speaker's Corner, is to share what I believe the truth is.
But do you think it's possible you believe in something which may never happen in your own lifetime? So Jesus may not actually return in your lifetime, because if you look at the New Testament, people were expecting Christ to return, but he never did. And you see that over time, the date of his coming is extended. Like it becomes more delayed.
Well, he himself said, no man knows the day or the hour, so that's a fair comment. But what I believe,
but then you do actually know, because in First Thessalonians, which Paul wrote, Paul says his return will be like something that you don't know when it will happen. It will take you by surprise.
Okay.
But then in his second letter, in Second Thessalonians, which some scholars don't believe he wrote, because in chapter 2 he says that before Jesus returns, there will be signs.
Right.
And those signs will be indication that now the hour is near.
Yeah.
So in 2 Thessalonians, you will have some signs. So it won't take you by surprise like a thief in the night.
Even Jesus.
But in 1 Thessalonians, which is like the earliest writing of the New Testament. Because 1 Thessalonians is like the first of the New Testament writings to be written.
No, I didn't know that.
Even though it comes later in the New Testament. There's 27 books.
Yes.
And about 14 are attributed to Paul.
Yes.
So Paul's letters, like when Paul converted to Christianity, there was no gospel for Paul to read and become. But he converted through like an experience that he had.
Yes.
So he wrote 1 Thessalonians as his first or earliest letter in the New Testament. So in that letter, he was expecting Jesus to return,
Right.
because he says in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4,
Yeah.
I believe it's verse 16,
Yeah.
he says, we who are still alive
Yeah.
and remain upon the earth
Yeah.
shall be united with Christ in the air.
Yes.
So he's expecting Jesus to return.
Yeah.
And like he says in chapter...
No, but he didn't expect Jesus to return, because you just quoted 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, where he says, that day will not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed. So
Exactly.
the Antichrist would come before Jesus would come. So
and this is why many scholars don't think that Paul wrote 2 Thessalonians.
I'm not a scholar, but I believe
like
that
Dale
that was-
Martin, I believe Raymond Brown possibly as well.
Okay, I don't know these guys, but
You've
yeah.
heard of obviously Bart Ehrman.
But who?
Bart Ehrman?
No, I haven't heard of any of these guys.
Okay, doesn't matter.
But anyway, there's a point that I wanted to make on 1 Thessalonians 4. You just quoted it, verse 16. It says, for the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel and with the trump of God, and the dead in Christ shall rise first. So Paul is telling us in the 1 Thessalonians, in the one you just said, is one of the first letters that he wrote.
Yeah.
He's saying, and by the way, in that letter he said, beloved, I'm writing you these things so that you know that we can have hope, basically. But he's saying, a time will come where the Lord will descend from heaven with a shout, he's saying, and with the voice of the archangel, and the dead in Christ shall rise first. So he's saying those who have died as believers, faithful believers, will come out of their graves and unite to meet him in the air.
And we who are still alive
Yes,
and
you're right.
remain will not precede those who have now fallen asleep, but
Yeah.
with the trumpet will be united with them in the air with
Exactly.
Christ.
So do you believe that?
So, well, in Paul's time, he thought this would happen in his own lifetime,
Yeah.
but it never happened. And so, second letter of Peter,
Yeah.
it says 1,000 years before the Lord is like a day before the Lord
Yeah.
is like 1,000 years of our reckoning.
Okay.
And 1,000 years of our reckoning is like a day before the Lord.
Yeah.
So it extends the parousia or the time, whereas early on it was expected that Jesus would actually return
Yeah.
within the lifetime of the generation of Christians.
I disagree with that statement. I agree with Paul's letter in the 2 Thessalonians, and I think it's clear, even from the one you just quoted, it says, but I would not have you to be ignorant, brethren, concerning those which are asleep, because they were sorrowing, they were grieving because people had died. And then he said, listen,
And
don't
the
worry,
second coming didn't happen.
there would be a resurrection. So he's talking about resurrection. That's what he's talking
And he
about.
refers to Jesus as the first fruit of the resurrection.
Okay.
And when the first fruits appear,
Yeah.
that's an indication that now it's very close.
Yes.
That the rest of the harvest will now come
Yes, it
about.
will come, yeah.
So Jesus was the first fruits of the resurrection, and so
Yeah.
now, any time now,
Yeah.
it's going to happen now, the resurrection. But it didn't, and this is why 2 Peter says 1,000 years of our reckoning is like
Also, didn't Paul tell the people not to if you weren't rich yet, not to bother get rich.
Exactly.
All of these things because the coming was so close.
if you read
If
one,
you didn't have money, yes.
No, he didn't say, he said don't lust after riches. He didn't say don't, there were rich people in the Bible. Abraham was a very rich man. Job was a very rich man.
No, I
So-
think what he means is Paul says in 1 Corinthians chapter 7,
Yeah.
to the married I say remain married, and to the single do not get married.
Yeah.
Remain as you are.
Yeah.
Because he was expecting Jesus to come back.
I don't
Because he
think he
said
was
with a
expecting
twinkling of the eye.
No, I don't think he was thinking that, because he says in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, and if you see this, and I don't care what scholars say, I'm going by what God's word says. It says, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, second coming, which is first and second verses, that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and the man of sin be revealed. Now he goes into depth who this man of sin is. And when you contrast this man of sin with Daniel chapter 7, it is this power that is going to exalt itself. And that power comes after the Roman Empire, after 476. So Paul didn't expect Jesus to come in
if
his
you
day.
read that same chapter, in chapter 2 of
Yeah.
2 Thessalonians, he says, anyone,
Yeah.
let me just...
Shall I go to the New International, or are you okay here?
I think it should be okay. Verse 3, let no man deceive you by
Yeah.
any means,
Yes.
for the day shall not come except there come falling always first, and that man of sin be revealed in the son of perdition.
Son of perdition, yeah.
So he's saying, actually, it'd be better if you could read NIV.
Okay, let me go to the NIV quickly.
Or, yeah.
Hold on, let me get it because. Oh boy, I think this will be the last point because otherwise
No worries.
my wife is not gonna.
Oh, that's nice. I didn't know you were married.
Don't worry, man. If you're married, stay married.
Yeah.
It's coming quickly.
Okay. So the same verse. Don't let anyone deceive you in any way, for that day will not come until the rebellion occurs and the manner of lawlessness is revealed, the man doomed to destruction. Okay?
Yeah.
So what else?
Yeah, so there's a verse where Paul says in the same chapter, in chapter 2, that do not anyone deceive you and tell you that the hour is near, even if they're claiming that this letter has been written by me or by my hand. And the reason why Paul says that is because he's denying 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, where he speaks about the
Verse 15. So then, brothers and sisters, stand firm and hold fast to the teachings we passed on to you, whether by word of mouth or by letter. He's saying hold fast to the teachings.
Yeah, with regards to this particular letter, but in terms of he's saying 1 Thessalonians, the previous letter.
Yeah.
He's saying indirectly that this isn't my letter. Because it's saying that the parousia or the second coming will be something that will come and take you by surprise.
Yeah. Okay. We can agree to.
Yeah, but I just wanted to address this point. The one in 1 Corinthians, where he's saying those who are single, they can just remain because the end is coming.
Let's go there, because I don't think that's what it says. But I'll do my best. I may not be able to, because I may need to go and look at that. But I'll look at it. 1 Corinthians 7, did you say? I don't think it deals with why. Okay, here we go. Now, the context is what? The context is, it begins by saying, let me get to the New International, because we need to get the context as well. 2 Corinthians 7, yeah? Okay, so therefore, since we have these... is that the right one? Was it? Oh, is it 1 Corinthians? Sorry, okay. Oh boy, guys, it's freezing now.
You're cold.
I'm cold, man. My feet are freezing. I need it in my boots now.
I don't feel cold, actually.
Now, this is the issue. This is the context.
Yes.
Now, for the matters you wrote about, it is good for a man not to have sexual relations with a woman, but since sexual immorality is occurring, each man should have sexual relations with his own wife and each woman with her own husband. So the context is dealing with sexuality.
No, that's not the one.
Yeah, of course, further down it gets to the part.
Yeah.
So, now to the married. Let's see. To the married, now to the unmarried and the widows, I say it is good for them to stay unmarried, as I do. But if they cannot control themselves, they should marry, for it is better to marry than to burn with passion. To the married, I give this command, not I, but the Lord. A wife must not separate from her husband. So where is it that is?
Is this 1 Corinthians?
This is 1 Corinthians. I think
chapter 7?
I think 1 Corinthians chapter 7. That's what I'm reading here.
Okay, so he says to the married, I say remain married, and to the single, I say remain single.
Yeah.
But he says it's better, like he says it's better if you're like me, which is unmarried, because when you're married, like now you have to go to your wife, you have to go back to your family.
Yeah.
But if you were not married, then you would have more time to be at Speaker's
Of course,
Corner.
to do work for the Lord, to do work for
So
God.
this is what Paul says, it's better if you're not married.
Yeah, but that's
because he says the time of the Lord is near.
Okay,
It's
but I
close.
didn't see that in the verse.
It's in chapter 7 of 1 Corinthians.
Show me the verse, and then, because like I said, I can go and look at it, and then come, because just show me where it says that.
Okay. By the way, the other place in Thessalonians, it was actually chapter 2, verse 2, and not verse 3.
Okay.
But yeah, in terms of the married life, he basically says, if anyone thinks that he is behaving properly, the husband dies. Yeah, so they are like verse 32.
32. I would like you to be free from concern. An
Yeah.
unmarried man is concerned about the Lord's affairs, how he can please the Lord. That's exactly what you said. I agree.
Yeah,
Verse 33, is it?
yeah, and then carry on.
But a
yeah.
married man is concerned about the affairs of this world, how he can please his wife, and his interests are divided. An unmarried woman or virgin is concerned about the Lord's affairs. Her aim is to be devoted to the Lord in both spirit, body, and spirit. So where exactly?
So this, I say this for your own benefit.
I say this for your own. Where's that?
35.
Okay, I'm saying this for your own good, not to restrict you, but you may live in a right way, in undivided devotion to the Lord.
So he
Go on again.
so he's saying that because time is short, or he's saying it's better to remain single so that you can devote yourself fully.
Maybe it does say that. I'll have a look at it. Maybe it does say that. I will have a look at it and.
Because in the same chapter, I remember reading, he says time is short.
Okay.
I'll just Google it. 1 Corinthians, chapter 7. He
Let
says.
me also Google it quickly on my.
Sorry. Yeah, verse 29.
29. Okay, here we go. What I mean, brothers and sisters, is that time is short. That the time is short.
Yes.
From now on, and those who have wives should live as if they do not.
Yeah.
Okay, fair play.
So he's saying that if you were like me, then you can be at Speaker's Corner full time, and then you wouldn't have to divide your time between your partner, your wife, and
Okay,
Speaker's
fair play.
Corner.
I get that point. That point's clear. Now, to dealing with the issue of
So he's
time,
expecting Jesus to come back.
I don't believe that, because in 2
Time is
Thessalonians,
near.
he says time is short, but I believe that according to the Bible, prophets could be given vision, given understanding of God's will, and they could grow in their understanding. So, for example, we have who is it? Nathan the prophet. Nathan the prophet came to David. David said, I want to build the Lord's house. In the book of Chronicles, he said, I want to build a house for the Lord. And Nathan the prophet comes to him, he says, go and do the will of the Lord, build the house of the Lord. Nathan goes home, God gives him a vision, and he says, Nathan, David has too much blood on his hand. Go back to him, tell him not to build the house of the Lord, but to gather the materials. His son Solomon will build the house of the Lord. So prophets at times received an understanding, but they grew in their understanding. It wasn't like they received a vision and they knew everything. No. So I believe, according to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, Paul says, brothers, I'm writing to you, knowing that the day of the Lord will not come until the Antichrist is revealed.
Yeah, he says if anyone says that the day of the Lord is near, then this and says this is from us.
Yeah.
This is not from us.
Okay,
but in 1 Corinthians he does say
time is short. Okay,
time is near. Yeah.
Okay, fair play. That's something I can look at.
Well,
but
let's
the thing
think
is,
about it. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, time is short. It is short in this life.
At the end of the day, I'm not trying to score a point or win a debate or argument.
No,
At the end of the day, both me and you, we both care about the truth.
Amen.
Like we care about one another's,
What's your name, by the way?
life. So, Naz.
Anas,
Yeah, yeah.
Naz or
It's Nazam.
Nasam.
But you can call me Naz.
Naz,
Amazing,
nice to
yeah.
meet you.
And
Sorry
you,
to
sir.
cut it short
No, it's
in
cool.
righteousness.
But next time, we can.
God willing,
yeah.
God willing. Thank you so much.
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yes,
Shall I give you my number, or if that's easy?
You know what? I'm gonna. Yeah, let me.
You don't have to give me yours.
No. Take my number. I don't mind. You take my number rather.
It's easy if I give you.
Okay. What do I do then? I
if
just scan my what's his name? Is it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow, man, you guys are.
It's Nazim, he's in playing, man.
You guys are serious, man. So how do I just? Okay, so take me to there. Is that what it does? Yeah.
Yeah.
No internet connection.
So now you don't
doesn't
need to
make sense.
speak your
I've got
number on the
internet.
camera. You just go.
Hold on, let me try that again.
I take it you have the Quran, translation of the Quran.
Add to contacts. Wow, I didn't know you could do that. Okay.
Yeah, it just makes it more easy. So.
Wow. Okay, Nazam.
You
Yeah.
don't need to speak your number. Somebody here.
Yes, Nazam.
Do you got a translation of the Quran?
I don't have. I don't have.
I can get you one.
Listen, let me come again. I need
Okay,
to
no
run. I'm
worries,
going to
yeah.
get divorced
Okay, yeah,
soon.
no,
if
no,
not.
no, okay, yeah.
All right.
You take care, yeah.
All the best.
Take care,
You
Nazim.
too.
Thank you. See you. You're not